We've got an awesome testimony this morning. Can the Carbonells come? Would you guys just welcome them as they come this morning? We got an awesome. You want to come too, Dad? Awesome. Come on up. Praise the Lord. Hey, man, I already got to hear this story in the first service, but this is amazing. This is such a miracle. And so, man, I'll just let you kind of roll it. Guys, this is Brennan. Everyone say hi, Brennan. Go for it, man.
Hi. So the week before last week, that Tuesday, I was down in Centralia for a baseball showcase where they try to get your name out to college coaches and whatnot. And I was involved in a collision with another player where I was diving for a ball and he was also going for the same ball, and his knee hit my chest, and it hit it in just the right way to cause my heart to stop completely. And I was just laying there on the field, apparently face down with no pulse, unresponsive. And one of the coaches, a few of the coaches there came out, and one of them started giving me CPR, and he kept me alive. And the first responders ended up coming, defibrillated me, shocked me, and then ended up hopping in an ambulance and driving to the hospital down there. But I don't remember any of this. It's just how, as it was told, because it was there's just a whole blank space in my memory of when this whole thing happened. I just remember waking up in the hospital in the coma, just waking up where am I, what's going on, how did I get in a hospital, why does everything feel icky? And I had been drugged so much that I just forget the whole thing because they had to keep me alive. I was sedated. They had stuck IVs in my arm. I remember those hurting. I remember having a breathing tube, and apparently I was waking up every once in a while trying to rip the breathing tube out. And it was just a crazy experience of just waking up in the hospital and being wow, I almost died. And when I woke up though, I didn't ever come to me that I was about to die in the hospital. I knew I was gonna make it. I just never had a thought of that. And I think that's because of the faith in God and just knowing He has me. And He kept me alive even though I was this close to death. So that's all very cool.
It's amazing. Come on. It's amazing and terrifying, right? Mom, can you tell us your side of the story?
So I had dropped him off at this baseball showcase and never gave it a thought because he's been playing baseball at a high level for a while, and I would have never thought anything would happen to him. So I drove to the store because I wasn't supposed to be there because of the COVID rules. And I was shopping and I got a call from Rebecca, who had missed my call 2 weeks before by accident. I'm so sorry, I missed your call. And I had asked her to pray for my daughter, who had been having some health issues. Well, so she prayed for my daughter, but then she started praying for Brennan and his baseball and the destiny over his life. And then I started getting this repeat call. And so then I answered it, and it was, your son's been in an accident, he's not breathing. How fast can you get there? Don't crash your car. So I drove there and I called Rebecca back on the way, and she couldn't believe it. I was totally in shock. I pulled into the handicap spot, paramedics, fire trucks, police cars, everything. The guy said, are you Mom? And then starts running. So I run after him, and then they hand me his cross necklace, say that we took this off of him. And he was in the back of the ambulance, and there were so many people working on him that they actually pulled me away, and the fire chief started talking to me and saying, we don't know what's wrong. We're just gonna get him to the emergency room. And at the emergency room, I started shaking uncontrollably. I guess it was all the adrenaline. But then I had this peace come over me. And I called some people to pray. I called Pastor Anthony. Corey was there, would pray. His youth pastor, Jonah, prayed and left a voicemail that I played next to his ear over and over again, the prayer, the resurrection prayer. And I just started putting my hand on his chest when the nurses weren't working on him and just breaking the trauma off of him. And then the chaplain was there. He was really wonderful. I ended up praying with him. And then I had to follow the ambulance, which I couldn't follow because I had lights and sirens, had to go through traffic from Chehalis to Tacoma. So then I had to make the drive by myself in my car, and he's in the ambulance, So that took some faith. I called my friend, Pastor Tina, and she said, what are the promises and prophecies that have been spoken of your son? So we went over them and she prayed into that and we prayed together, and that settled it. And I had a lot of other people pray with me. Even the head of the baseball organization, when he turned around and saw that it was serious, he texted me in the hospital and said, I started praying that this would glorify God.
Wow, come on.
And
That's
so
awesome.
there was so many things along the way, and friends that I could talk to at 1:30 a.m. because I couldn't sleep in the PICU, and it was just so amazing. And so when he first got into the ER in Chehalis, he had a partial collapsed lung, he had blood in his lungs, he had a tear in his stomach with blood, he had liver damage, they didn't know if he had neurological damage. By the time he got to Marybridge in Tacoma, they couldn't find the bleed in his stomach. His lung had become uncollapsed, and the fluid was starting to drain out of his lungs, and they found out he had no injury to his lungs. And then later on, he was weaned off of oxygen pretty quickly, even though that was hard to see him not be able to breathe without oxygen. But he was able to get off the oxygen pretty quickly. They found he has no neurological damage. We just got a clean bill of health for him. All of his EEGs, cardiac MRI, everything's normal. And so he has no lasting damage from this.
So good.
So when that first evening when I was in the PICU and he was on had taken out the breathing tube, but he was still really sick, I just prayed, God, I need something. And he said Psalm 20. And it came up in the Holman Christian Standard Version, and he said, may Yahweh answer you in your day of trouble. So I pray over this over all of you. May Yahweh answer you in your day of trouble. May the name of Jacob's God protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and sustain you from Zion. May he remember all your offerings and accept your burnt offering. And this was the verse that got me. May he give you what your heart desires and fulfill your whole purpose. So I said, okay, my son's going to fulfill his whole purpose. And so that was the only chapter I read for about 3 days.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, let's just give Jesus a big thank you. He has you covered, man.